Dave Grohl is here. We are taping this in the Sundance studios. We have talked about doing a pod for years.
It's
the
been a
whole
long
2010s.
Yeah.
Which has never happened. You even did a podcast with my buddy House last year. You did House of Carbs with him
that's
a
right.
year ago. And he even had you before I did. But now we're finally here, 2020.
Yeah.
We did it. Yeah, I reached out to you, I think it was 2014. You did the follow-up documentary series to the original documentary. I think it was called Sonic Highways.
It's called Sonic Highways, yeah.
And I was blown away by how good it was. And I was like, I just have to email this guy because I see so many bad documentaries. And this was just a really cool idea for a show. And then that was it. You only did one season and you were done.
You know, I wanted to do another. I just fell into that documentary thing. Like, I had never aspired to be like a director or make movies. I love making music videos. That's really fun.
Right.
But those are like silent films. It's like slapstick, just physical comedy and shit. So, so the first documentary I did was this movie called Sound City.
That was a year before.
And that was a year before. And not to say making documentaries is easy, but if you have the right people and you have the right intention, then to be able to go and meet your heroes and talk to them about something that you have in common, and then put it all together in a three-act story, it can be really inspiring. And all of this stuff, the Sound City thing and the Sonic Highways thing, that was mostly meant to humanize music and the process of making it, and so that it will inspire others to do.
Well, and the roots of it too. And I'm sure everybody has their own favorite episodes. I personally thought the Seattle and I thought the DC.
Oh, the DC one, dude. Where are you from?
I'm from Boston, but
Right.
House, whose podcast you did last year,
Yeah.
he's my best friend from college and just an all-time DC mid-late 80s, just the scene. So we had already known about those bands when we were in college, and he was listening to Fugazi and even the first Nirvana album and stuff like that. And we were like, what the fuck are you listening to? But he was years ahead of a lot of us.
Well, you know, the greatest thing about those smaller sort of independent or punk rock music scenes was that it really was like a community.
Yeah.
And so in the Sonic Highways thing, as we went from city to city, you know, the conversation was mostly about how the environment influences the music. So why did Chicago end up a blues capital?
Yeah.
Where did jazz come from in New Orleans? How did the Grand Ole Opry become like the mother church, the place where... So, but in all of those places, you realize that there really was a community of musicians. And I honestly believe that when you put people together, like you actually put people together in a space to be creative, really great things happen. And you kind of can't do it by yourself. You need to do it with other people because it's inspiring, you know, to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. And those punk rock communities, like the DC scene, God, it was so good. Because
you were multiple bands, but one of yours was Scream. It was like 4 years.
Yeah. But it was great because like you're on stage playing a show to all of your friends.
Yeah.
And then you walk off stage and the next band up are your friends. And now you're in the audience singing your friend's song. And they're really like I don't think there was any, I mean, there certainly wasn't any career opportunity, but I don't think anyone really thought too far outside of just like fucking jamming. Like in DC when I was 16 or 17, I never learned to read music. I can't read music. I didn't think I could become a professional musician. All I wanted to do was be the baddest fucking drummer in town.
Right.
Like that was it. That's what I was rehearsing for. I wasn't thinking like, I'm going to make it to fucking Wembley Stadium. It was like, I just want my friends to go like, dude, that was fucking amazing. That's all I wanted.
Well, you learned everything by ear, right?
Yeah.
Because my son's 12, and in the last 9 months, just decided I want to learn how to play the bass. This is my thing.
Rad.
And really got into it, plays most of it by ear, but it's been so fun to just watch him fall in love with music and listen to all these old albums. And the crazy thing is, it's the same albums forever. It's it's
What's he
Metallica,
listening to?
it's AC/DC, it's Led Zeppelin. The stuff from the 60s and 70s, it's never gonna die. And it's always
Yeah.
gonna be for the 12-year-old, 13-year-old. You were like, what were you like, Rush and a couple other ones where you're just like, these are my bands.
I was a Beatles guy at first. That's how I learned how to play guitar, which was just a songbook and Beatles records. And then my stoner cousin gave me 2112 by Rush, and that just fucking changed everything. I was like,
So you're just gravitated to the drummer.
well, it's the first time I really heard the drums. In Rush, the drums are like a prominent element in every song.
Yeah.
And because the way Neil Peart would write his parts, it was the composition of his drum parts was as integral as a lyric. So like he's a really musical drummer. And so that's why they're like everybody air drums along to Rush songs, which I happen to think is that's the key. That's if you make a song and people air drum to it that don't play the drums, people that don't know what they're doing.
Right. Which usually leads to some of the most awkward white people moments of all time.
Of course.
In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins.
Yeah, the thing, right? If you get one of those in your life or in your career, then you're gold, dude. That's amazing. But it's funny that if your son's 12 years old. My mother wrote this book a few years ago about mothers of musicians.
Yeah.
It's called From the Cradle to the Stage. And she interviewed like 20 different moms, mothers of artists from different parts of the country, different genres of music, different religions, different race. They all raised these kids that became legendary musicians. Dr. Dre, Michael Stipe, Zach Brown, Pharrell, people like that. You'd think that there wouldn't be like any sort of common parallel because everybody's so different, but all of the stories are almost exactly the same. That in this window of 10 to 13 years old, 11 to 13, all of these kids decided they wanted to become musicians. And I think it's because it's those years where you start to discover identity.
Yeah.
And you start connecting with music. You hear a song or there's an instrument or something, and you kind of gravitate towards it and decide like, oh, this is me, right? Like I'm a Rush guy now.
Right.
So I love Rush. Or I start playing the drums and I'm like, oh, I'm a drummer. But it has so much to do with identity. And if your kid gets the bug or the spark and they go headfirst into the music thing, and you have a parent that supports or facilitates it and lets them know like, yeah, that's okay, that's you, so you do your thing.
Yeah.
They honestly will go on and do great things.
It's funny that he gravitated to the bass the same way you gravitated to the drums.
Dude, bass is the best, just so you know.
And I don't hear music like that. And I do think there's two types of people when they listen to music, and some people can just hear the different things, and then other people just listen to it.
What do you think of when you listen to music? Are you listening to a lyric, or are you just kind of...
I like things that groove, but I also, I think we're the same age. We had an
37.
awesome 1969, right? We had an awesome kind of arc, I forget when I started buying cassettes and stuff like that, but we really only had 12, 15 years of music to buy from.
Yeah.
It was really like late 60s on. And then you start adding, but then like the whole college rock scene starts taking off, and then all these genres popping out, and it all leads to, the 89 to 95 stage, which you were prominently involved in. But I feel really lucky. Now I look at the kids now, there's so much music. Everything is so splintered. They have 60, 65 years of music to listen to.
Well, and they do. That's the thing. So
is that a good thing or a bad? It's almost like overwhelming.
A great thing. Well, it could be, I suppose.
Because it's so hard to have the same common things with your friends, because they might be going this way, you're going this way, your buddy's
but
going
in a
this
way, that sort of diversity is exciting because, so my oldest daughter, Violet, she's 13, she will listen to Johnny Mathis.
Really?
And then she'll listen to Slipknot. And then she'll listen to Stevie Wonder. And then she'll listen to Eloise, who's like an artist from England that not a lot of people know about, but is so outrageously talented. And then she'll listen to, like, she's just so all over. She's trying to get me into the Misfits.
Yeah.
Like, I never got into the Misfits. So now my 13-year-old kid is like, Dad, listen to this Misfits song. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It makes no sense. But it's cool because all of those things, I think it's the volume or the amount of music that they have access to is a lot more than when we were a kid. But I think the effect is probably the same. So for most musicians just learn from the artists that they love and take whatever it is that those artists have, turn it into their own, and then it becomes something new or something else. And so to hear, like, if my daughter made a record that was kind of like Slipknot, but also kind of like Johnny Mathis, I would fucking buy that shit.
Well, it's funny, with that age, they gravitate to riffs.
Yes.
And I noticed my son, he's like a jukebox with riffs.
Yeah.
There's a couple of your songs on it too, but does Chili Peppers have a bunch of them where it's just the beginning of a song and he's just trying to
Just
get every piece of it right, then start again, and just kind of keep going. And my brain never worked that way. I was always a writer. I never ever saw the music side of it. But when you were getting into the drums though, was Bonham, the guy from Rush, was that like the Bird and Magic of that era?
The 2112 record was really the first time I listened to drums on a record. I was like, oh, listen to, like, I'm like, oh my God, like the Beatles didn't have that going on. They had a whole different kind of drummer. Ringo's just like laying it down and has a really signature sound and feel. Like, you could tell when Ringo's playing drums. And then I hear this record where it's like fucking drums all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Was that the kind of kid you were? Were you like
this?
the energy? No, the energy to just.
I was such a spaz.
Yeah.
Like, I've calmed down. I'm practically comatose compared to what I was when I was fucking 10 years old. I was a nightmarish, hyperactive spaz.
Yeah. So,
but having, like, not learned how to read music, I can kind of see it. So if I hear a song, I sort of see the arrangement in my head, almost like blocks or like Legos or something like that. They're just pieces, and they're stacked in the composition of all the how it's put together. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just kind of.
But there's a certain level of genius to it, though. I think, right? Like, you
I
either have
know.
it or you don't have it.
No, but I do think, it's if I started to notice it with my kids when you could tell if they have like a patterned mind.
Yeah.
When they're young, you in the kindergarten or preschool, they do these little pattern games like apple, apple, orange, orange, apple, apple, and so you can tell if a kid has a patterned mind. If you have a patterned mind and you have an ear where you can like sort of discern or figure out pitch or inflection, pitch is big too, but all of those things, if you put that together with a patterned mind, then you'll hear something. It's almost like someone that does impersonations or impressions.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. If your ear can sort of like signal that part of your brain to do that with your mouth, then you could, you could play a Rush song on a guitar. It's just a matter of figuring it out.
I hung out with the South Park guys. Were preparing an episode once, and Bill Hader was there, and they could just on the fly just imitate anybody. And it was some come up, and then they were just like speaking this language. I'm just kind of sitting there like, what's going on? And they could just imitate anybody's vocal inflection, do any celebrity, just seamlessly. But it was like that, right? Where some people can hear things in a different way.
But then, I mean, it also has a lot to do with the drive.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to fucking sit at a piano and have someone smack your hand with a ruler and say, do it again, do it again, do it again. That's just like...
The drummer is the most physically taxing of the four. And you see these dudes like the guy in U2, he's got like the special chair now. And like, it's almost like being in football where you're, I don't know, like a middle linebacker or something. You're just creaming dudes for 8-9 years, and then it's like you can't do it anymore.
It'll beat you down.
You can't do 35 years of it without.
I mean, if there's ways to do it, like,
but you've taken
wrists and postures and stuff.
But you moved to a guitar and you were able to, pick your spots.
Yeah.
I've always been impressed by the physical longevity and stress of that position.
Well, this is like, I know that. So I'm 51. Like, You think I'm gonna be screaming fucking Best of You when I'm 75 years old? There's no way. Like, there's just
It would be incredible.
absolutely no. I'll try.
You'll be in a stool with an acoustic
I'll be in
guitar.
a wheelchair.
Yeah.
With one of these things, like so you kind of know, and in a way, rock and roll is a young man's game, right?
Yeah.
A younger generation and the rebellious nature of someone that wants to go out and say fuck you and take on the world. That's not where I'm at anymore. It's where I was when I was young.
But you're in the part of the journey where all the money is, though. Because you look at the concert tours,
Well, you gotta talk about
and
that
it's all
now.
it's
true.
You look at the concert tours, and it's all acts that have been around. Because the people that love them the most are the people relatively within 10, 15 years of the age.
Yeah,
and those are the ones who have money to spend on the major tickets.
So, I'm making a documentary right now. I'm making a few, but I'm making a documentary.
Look at you! You're always up to stuff.
I'm a spaz, dude. I can't help it.
You have to do like 5 things.
Coffee. So, so I'm making a movie about vans and van touring because back in the day, that's how younger independent bands. The van was the tour bus for the punk rockers in the 80s. Everybody had a van. Even before, like long before, vans go way back.
It was the poor man's bus.
Absolutely. And so, so I've interviewed everybody, and you'd be surprised. Like, the Beatles toured in a van.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, Metallica, U2.
It's probably their favorite memories, right? Just all being trapped together in a small space.
Well, I mean, I think that they're pretty happy with the way things turned out.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean,
the most nostalgic.
Yes, and there's something about that time. It's like you wear it like a badge. You're like, oh shit, yeah, I toured in a van for 5 years, sleeping on floors, eating, butter sandwiches, and getting paid $2 a night. And in a way, I can't remember what we were talking about before that, but in a way, that the movie's not so much about like really awesome van tour anecdotes, which it is. There are many, but it's more about the drive to do it. Like, why would anyone give up everything, quit their job, leave home, leave everything behind just to chase this dream with no guarantee that you're ever going to make it? And you starve and you bleed and you're sick and you're pissed and you get taken to jail and you get in fights and you blah, blah, but you always get to the next gig. Like, you always get to the next gig. And so you'd be surprised. Everybody has the same story. And it is absolutely a key to success.
Yeah.
You have to have that fucking thing. You have to have the thing. If you're just kind of doing it, it's just not going to work out. But if you have that thing where, like, I can't survive unless I fucking do this, that's what you have to do. It's really, it's pretty great to hear your heroes go back to those years when they were a kid and talk about, like, there's nothing more in life that I wanted to do. And then to see their dreams actually come true. And it's those musicians, the ones that started for that reason. I have to do this. I just have to fucking do it. They're the ones, they're all still doing it for that same reason. I have to do it. What the fuck else am I going to do? Like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, I just feel hollow and I just feel fucking. But to hear, someone like Ringo Starr talk about being in the van with the Beatles, and it's just like he's a fucking 16-year-old kid when he talks about it. You're like, and he changed the world.
There's so few good movies about bands that get it correctly, and it's like Almost Famous is probably one of the most memorable ones.
Yeah.
And it catches them right at that point when they're about to go from being on the bus every day to, all right, it's time to go to Plains so we can make more money and fly around.
Did you ever see the documentary Dig?
What's it about?
It's about two bands. It's about this band called the Brian Jonestown Massacre.
I remember that. It's an amazing name.
Oh God, now I'm forgetting the other band's name. They had a big hit. Crap. This is going to drive me crazy. It's going to come to me. Anyway, it's about two bands that meet. They're both in the underground.
Yeah.
Become like best friends because they're like brother sister bands. They're they're made to be together. One of them starts to get hugely famous. Danny Warhol's, that's who it was. Danny Warhol started to get like really big and some success. And the Brian Jonestown Massacre are like they're insane. The singer is like this really striking, beautiful, fucking crazy figure she's like mesmerizing, but he's kind of a little crazy. And the bands start going like this, and it kind of, I mean, I don't want to give away the ending, but it gets to the point where they're not really friends anymore. Now this band that's huge is afraid that this band is stalking them. This is fucking true.
Wow.
And it winds up in it. It's not a happy ending.
Jesus.
It's one of the greatest fucking documentaries I've ever seen.
I don't know how I haven't seen that one.
Because most movies, like the end is like, yay, we made it to the Tokyo Dome. But this one is just like, amazing.
I love all content about bands when they hit that point where they're going to stay together or break up.
Oh, everybody gets there.
Because the first part, the Eagles part 1, which is basically the arc and then the fall, but like I'm so into it. It's so good, all the beats of it. But then there's been some other ones that people like. There was one about U2, which I don't even think people know they hit that point where it was like,
yeah.
And then their manager ends up trapping them in some castle in Germany, and they end up making Achtung Baby. But it seems like the shelf life is, I don't know, 6 to 10 years, and everybody starts. Either the band's going to stay together or it's going to implode. And those are the two options. And if they can somehow stay together, then they can keep going.
It's not easy, like we've been a band now for 25 years.
But you must have hit a point.
What's that what?
You must have hit a point during that 25
absolutely.
years.
It's 7 years. It's usually you get the 7-year itch.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I doing this? Do I really want to do this anymore? And then you feel the pressure to do it. And you're like, fuck that. That's not why I started doing this in the first place. And then it goes, ah, 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 and everything goes, fuck you all. And then you decide you're going to bail. And then 3 months later, you're like, I miss you guys. And then you just start doing it again. I mean, that's what happened with us. But
do you remember what the big conflict was?
Yeah. So this is in like 2000 or 2001.
So you've had multiple giant albums at this point.
Not really. It's funny. Our sort of path has been really gradually comfortable.
I felt like you were big. I saw you in Worcester and in Boston. Or not Boston.
Like back then?
Foxborough. We saw you in Worcester, and
was it at that weird,
the weird theater that has it was fucking awesome.
I remember
it actually
that.
was really good. The acoustics were good in that because it just went up.
I just remember it just didn't seem like a place to have a rock show, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's weird. Like, when we started, when we started, it wasn't even a band. It was just a demo tape I made by myself.
Yeah.
I played all the instruments. I did it in 5 days. I thought it was really fun. Nirvana was over. I didn't have anything to do. I was depressed, and I thought, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna just go to the studio and record some shit by myself. Recorded it. I made 100 cassettes. I made a little cover for the cassette. I called it Foo Fighters because I didn't want people to think it was me. I wanted it to be like, wow, this new band is really cool, when really it was just one person. And then that starts getting out and whatever, and then I'd call Pat and I'd call Nate, and we start the band. Anyway, then we tour our fucking asses off, and then the second album, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be the last record we ever make, so let's really make it good. So we really worked on that, like Everlong and My Hero and Monkey Ranch, stuff like that. That like we produced that. We worked on that with a great producer. And then after that, we were let out of our record contract. There's a technicality. The president of the record company, we had a key man clause, and he bailed. So we're like, cool. Now we're fucking not even, we can do whatever we want. So we had this easy out that was like, okay, do you want to keep doing, we're not obligated to do this. Should we keep doing it? And I had just moved back to Virginia, where I grew up, and I built a studio in my basement. I'm like, let's just fucking make a cool record and have fun. Every day we'd like barbecue at night. We'd fucking shoot hoops in the daytime, drink Coors Light all day long. It was spring in Virginia. We just made this record. And once we were done, then we said to the record companies, like, okay, who wants it? And then we did a deal. But it's kind of been like this. But, inevitably, at some point, you question why you're doing it. And the thing that got weird with us was, we were making a record and it just wasn't working out. Our fourth record just didn't sound good, didn't feel good. We weren't into it. And then in the meantime, my buddy Josh from Queens of the Stone Age had just bailed his drummer. And he's like, dude, I got 2 weeks. Can you come just do the drums on the record? And they were like my favorite band. They were fucking amazing. And we're good friends. We've known each other for 30 years, a long time. I was like, yes, I get to play on a Queens of the Stone Age record. So go in and record Queens. And it was kind of the opposite of what we were doing. What we were doing was like, okay, all right, let's just put this bass down and let's. But the Queens of the Stone Age thing was like this collective lightning bolt of like, go, let's do this, and tracking live, and like you're all in the same room, like face to face, like it was fucking mean, like it was hungry, it was great, and so I go do that, and it's fucking badass. I was like, oh, this is good.
Those guys are really good.
They're fucking great. They are.
I really like
I've
them.
always said that they are. When they hit the stage, they're the best rock band in the world. Like nobody even gets close. There's amazing live bands who write powerful songs. Rage Against the Machine. There's amazing live bands that can make an audience go like this. The Prodigy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like for musicality and as a musician, you sit and watch Queens of the Stone Age and you're like, that's not fair.
Right.
What the fuck? Like everybody in the band is a fucking badass. And they know it. So anyway, so I made that record, and
So it was almost like you had an affair.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing with this other band, and it was the first time I played drums really since Nirvana.
Yeah.
And I fucking miss it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me. I can't just go join some fucking band. I have to join a band where I'm just like, yeah, you know, I got to really fucking be into it. And so all of a sudden I'm in it and into it, and the songs are fucking great, and we're great. And I thought, okay, and then I tried finding them a drummer. I'm like, try this guy. What about this guy? And then I thought, okay, before they get a drummer who's way fucking better than me, let's just do one show. And we did a show at the Troubadour. And at the end of that show, Mark Lanigan, who's one of the singers in the band, he said, man, it'd be a shame if that's the only time we did that. And so meanwhile, I'm fucking making a record over here that is kind of uninspired. And then I'm over here kicking fucking ass. I'm like, you know what? I need to like go do this. And the guys were bummed. They're like, okay, bye. And it turned into something that wasn't going to end well. And then the Coachella was coming up. Foo Fighters were playing one day, Queens of the Stone Age were playing another day. And I thought it was going to be our last show. I thought like, okay, this is it. This is fucking 2002 or something.
Yeah.
2001. And
so you're right in that 6-7 year range.
Right there. And then did both, and somehow everyone just went, okay. And we kept going. But you know, at this point it's like, I always say that it's like, we can't break up now. That's like your grandparents getting a divorce. Like, why even? What the fuck are they going to do? You know what I mean? So why not? Like, we just have to just ride it out.
You guys can still sell out stadiums, though.
Mm-hmm.
Since that's the case, I would say don't break up.
I agree. But you know what a lot of people do? The Police did it right. The Police did it right.
That's the all-time best beginning, middle, end.
It's the greatest because they didn't even say like "fuck you, I quit, we're breaking up." They just never said it. They never said a word. It disappeared for 20 fucking years, and then it was like the Police are coming back. You're like, oh, like fucking all of us were so excited. And then we go to see them play stadiums everywhere they go. Go to see them play, and it's the fucking Police. They sound and look like the fucking Police.
Unfortunately, they intensely disliked one another. That was a problem.
It happens. It's that creative conflict that makes for good things.
That's one of the documentaries that nobody's really done correctly.
The Police one?
That I'm just dying for. And I don't know if it'll ever happen because all three of them would want input in it. And it just, I don't feel like could ever happen. They would almost all have to be dead.
I think the hardest thing would be to find a director that's going to put their fucking hand in that wasp nest. Like, I've been asked before, like, will you do a documentary on blah, blah, blah? Will you do a documentary on blah, blah, blah? And they're bands that are just like fucking hate each other. And the story is amazing, but I'm not getting in the middle of that shit.
Right.
I'm going to take over my life.
Well, that was, the Eagles one was as close as anyone got because.
So good.
Because it's basically Fry and Henley are doing it.
Yeah.
But there's this whole unsaid piece to it that they allude to, but it's clear the band broke up because of those two guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, here are these other factors, and our other guitarist, he was a pain in the ass, and he wanted to be in Victim of Love. But it was really those two guys and the fact that Henley ascended Fry. And initially Fry sang more of it, and Henley was the drummer who sang sometimes. Yeah. And then it turns out Henley has one of the best voices of, that entire generation. Amazing. And it's like, hey, you know who should sing the songs? Don Henley. And then Fry, what bothered Fry, but they could never like dive into that part in the documentary. It's hard.
And then there's Joe Walsh, dude. And then Walsh.
Well, Joe Walsh is just he's the chainsaw in the hot tub.
He's the fucking coolest.
Yeah,
the coolest.
The king of what was he? The king of room trash or room destruction or it's.
I remember being at dinner with him one time, and everyone was sort of telling stories and stuff, and there was someone there that wasn't really aware of Joe's history, and she turns to Joe and she says, were you like a big partier? And Joe says, he goes,
kind of.
He goes, I was Keith Moonish.
Well, that was he was his mentor.
Of course. Amazing. But it's I didn't grow up listening to the Eagles.
I didn't either. Like, I didn't even really like them that much until the documentary. And I was like, these guys are amazing.
Like I just didn't like them. Yeah. And then I saw that movie and how fucking they were like the usual suspects. Like they were fucking like these mean assassin motherfuckers singing like Peaceful, Easy Feeling. And when I watched that, I'm like, this is great. I think I like the Eagles now. This is fucking crazy.
Fry's stories about how he came up with songs where he's just going, so I'm riding in a car with a drug dealer at 90 miles an hour, and he says, life in the fast lane. I'm like, that's a song. I'm like, there's no way this happens.
That's rock and roll.
Yeah.
It happens like that.
The police one is sitting there, but I don't think will ever happen. The Nirvana one can happen, right?
It could happen. Absolutely.
You did it a little bit in Sonic Highways. You dabbed it, but
no. Things are good. Like if everybody put their heads together and really wanted to do something like that, I'm sure we could do it. Like I don't think it would be. It's not impossible. It's just a matter of like.
Isn't all the right stuff screwed up?
Why? What's that?
Isn't all the right stuff like a real issue? Or
okay,
no?
I have to be perfectly honest. I don't fucking.
You don't even understand it.
No,
right?
I don't. Like I'm that guy that I have kept blissfully outside of most of the business stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I've had the same manager for 30 years. I've had the same accountant for 30 years. I've had the same monitor guy for 30 years. We all started in the fucking van and it went, and here we are. And so we've learned everything along the way, but we learned to love each other and become like this family. So anything we do, we kind of protect what we have. And, but I still, to this day, like, I don't want to fucking know about money. I know it sounds shitty, but I never had any when I was fucking young.
Right.
Mom was a public school teacher, lived in a house in Springfield, Virginia, worked at a fucking furniture warehouse, wanted to go to Parsons to be a fucking commercial art design guy. Too fucking stupid, too fucking poor. That wasn't going to happen. So I played drums in a punk rock band, worked at the fucking furniture warehouse, and was totally happy. Like, I didn't need more. And then when the whole thing fucking went nuts, it was just like, oh my God, this is fucking cool. Like, I remember the first thing I bought, I got $400. I think I was 21. And honestly, that was like pretty much the most cash I'd ever had in my hand. I bought a fucking BB gun, a Nintendo, and some Whippets.
Nintendo.
So this is back then. But I don't like, when I work with people, I prefer it to not be a business relationship.
Yeah.
I like to work with people on a personal level too, so that you're doing things. My guitar tech, when he hands me my guitar, I don't want him to hand it to me because he's getting paid. I want him to hand it to me so that I go out there, because he wants me to go out there and fucking shred.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works. So I don't know, like, I don't know how much my guitar tech gets paid. I don't know how much my fucking tour manager gets paid. And I tell everybody, I don't want to know. Don't fucking tell me ever. So I have no idea. So to me, it's not a business. It's a fucking group of people that have known each other for a quarter of a century that just fucking party.
Right.
It's fucking great. So with the Nirvana stuff, I mean, it's complicated, obviously. It's more complicated than most situations. But anything's possible. If people would actually want to do something, then yeah. But I wouldn't fucking direct it. That's for goddamn sure.
I wouldn't expect you to. What's your feeling on bands as we head into the 2020s, just in general? Where
there's lots
it
of
seems
good bands.
But just like, I think if we've learned anything over the years, it's the individual artist is going to get more attention, make more money, the whole thing, because we have this whole 60-year history of, bands broke up because this one person was bigger than the other people. Right. He's sharing all the profits. He's like, well, fuck that. I'll just do this myself.
Yeah.
And then also the way, I don't know, the internet, social media and all that, it's all geared toward one person. Do you feel like the concept of a band is going to start drifting away?
No.
So you're optimistic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, just as you said, like, kids are listening to music now the same way we listened to music when we were young.
Because I'm optimistic too, because I see with my son, I'm like, maybe this circles back and we have like a renaissance of people who want to be in bands again. Because it's like the cool...
Yeah, to jam with somebody. And something that not a lot of people think about is the interaction between musicians while they're playing. So I've been in bands before, like my high school band. Like the drummer was like in the key club, and then the fucking singer was like the quarterback of the football team, and then the other guy was like the weird nerd that's in science club or whatever. And then the only thing we really like connected and had in common was when we played like Jumpin' Jack Flash or something like that. So you could communicate with someone without words, right? And there's some socialization in that. It sort of teaches you how to be with other people playing music. It's a great way to bring people together.
It's like a basketball team.
I
think it's very similar.
I do too. Just as I have this thing where drummers, I was a goalie my whole life. Like I don't know anything about sports at all. I was a soccer goalie from the time I was 6 years old.
That totally makes sense.
13 years old. And
that's a psychotic position.
And then, of course, a lacrosse goalie
oh my God.
in high school.
Just getting belted.
Yeah. But there's something similar. It's similar to being a drummer. Like, the fucking buck stops here. Like, you're the goalie, it's your fucking ass. And those guys, in a band, a band is only as good as its drummer. And this is absolutely true. No question. It's a fucking stupid cliche, but it's true.
I wrote this whole thing, I'm going to say 2013. Do you know enough to know LeBron James and Dwayne Wade when they joined in Miami with Chris Bosh? It was the big three.
I don't know about that.
But LeBron was the best one. But the dynamics were basically like a band. Bosh was this guy who could have been the best guy on a good team. On this team, he was the third best guy, so he was kind of the bassist. And then Dwayne Wade could have easily been the best guy on a great team, but now he's with LeBron. LeBron's the lead singer, and Wade's like the guitarist. And
that's amazing.
It only lasted 4 years because at some point,
did they just
LeBron's like, I'm going to go here. Yeah, they won 2 titles. They made 4 finals, but Bosh was the one who had to sacrifice. And then I don't know who the drummer was in this scenario. I guess it was the other 9 guys, because if the other guys don't make some big shots, make some good, you need 8 guys to win a title.
Right.
And that's kind of the drummer. If you have only the 3, but you don't have the supporting cast, you're not winning. I don't know if that made sense.
Recently, I interviewed The Edge from U2.
Oh.
For this project that I'm doing. He was talking about like how U2 got together.
Yeah.
And they've known each other since fucking high school. That's the only band they've ever been in.
They're a bunch of Irish kids.
Yeah.
Like the 8th grade.
Insane. Yeah.
It's nuts.
They're like, there's a kid that's got a drum set and whatever.
Right.
And But he was very open about how U2 does one thing really fucking good. But anything outside of the way they do it is kind of a challenge for them.
Yeah.
You know, like they couldn't go play Frankenstein by Edgar Winter, or they could, you know what I mean? Like they do that U2 thing, which they fucking invented. Like that is their thing. And the reason why it came from them is that it's a combination of specific elements. Like I believe in bands because when I go to record demos or like the first Foo Fighters record, that's not a band. That's me playing the stuff. So that's one lens or one perspective on how this song should be. When you're in a group of people, whether it's 3 people or 5 people, whatever it is, everybody's going to hear and see the song differently. So it's almost like everyone takes their corner of this thing and just stretches it out like that. And it becomes bigger because it's the energy of all the different people and their vision. Right?
In movies, it always takes 3 minutes for them to figure out the hit song.
Really?
Well, somebody has the riff, and then some other guy, and then all of a sudden they're playing the finished product.
Well, there's sometimes that's how we just finished making a record.
Yeah.
And some of those songs, sometimes the best ones happen in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I have an idea and it starts with a drum beat and then I do a weird percussion thing, put down like a scratch guitar really quickly. Okay, let me go write some lyrics really quick. I sit down and go, blah, blah, and within 45 minutes, it's like, oh my God, that's maybe one of the best things we've ever written in our fucking lives. Then there's other songs there's a riff on the new record I've been working on for 25 fucking years. Like 25 years. First time I demoed it was in my fucking basement in Seattle. And every record, I'm like, oh, let's put it on. And I'm like, it didn't work. Let's put it on. So that one, so sometimes it's 45 minutes. Sometimes it's 25 fucking years.
Well, a couple of the Foo Fighters songs initially you worked on when you were still in Nirvana.
Yeah,
right?
On the first record.
Just messing around.
Yeah, because, I wouldn't let anyone hear them.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded like shit. I don't like my fucking voice. I was like, I just did it for fun. It's kind of therapeutic, to be able to write and then perform something.
What was Kurt's reaction when you would be like, hey, I have this idea for blank?
Well, first of all,
I mean,
he's, one of the greatest songwriters of all time.
That's a tough one.
Yes, so you don't want to fucking say,
hey,
that's the famous
here's
joke.
my idea.
Is what the last thing the drummer said before he got kicked out of the band. Hey guys, I got a song I think we should play. So, I didn't want to like interrupt the process. We had it good. It's like all I had to do was beat the fucking shit out of the drums like I'm playing disco.
Right.
Right? Like never mind that all that stuff, those drum parts, that's the Gap band. I was just explaining this to someone recently. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Gap band. And they're like, what? I love disco. I always have. The fucking Gap band, like Burn Rubber on Me, when it's like jack.
But that's the whole DC. That's the whole go-go influence and all that stuff.
Well,
too.
There's a lot of go-go. Yeah, I mean DC and go-go and funk is huge. But anyway, so when you have like those 3 simple elements, it's like don't rock the fucking boat. And there was one time where I recorded something that I was really proud of, and I'm like, man, I recorded this song. I had a studio in my basement. I played it for Kurt, and he was really excited about it. And he liked the riff and the melody, but he didn't really like the lyric. And so, but he was he didn't want to ask if he could change the lyric because he didn't want to, like offend me or something. Which of course I would have said like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, do your thing,
fuck
man.
it, do your thing. It'll be great. But we never did. But so I would just do these things and just listen to them by myself and be like, okay, that's cool. And then I'd try it again. It was almost like I was, wood shedding or whatever, just trying to figure out how to do it. And then when the band was over, it's like I didn't want to fucking play music at all. I didn't want to listen to music. I was like, fuck music. This is fucking a drag. And then I realized like, wait a minute. That's the one thing that like actually heals me and makes me feel good. I should fucking go make some music. And I had these 20 songs that nobody had ever heard.
And then you were off.
Yeah.
Do you think, because fundamentally, that band, you could have had 3 people and filled a stadium if you really wanted to. And I think the Police were like that too. And there's certain bands where 3 people can do all the work of a 4-person fan. In sports, if we were like, yeah, this NBA team, they only play 4 dudes, not 5, but they're still smoking everybody else, we'd be like, that's amazing. And in music, nobody gets credit for that. I always thought that was weird. Well, I mean, fundamentally, you do need 4, but technically, you could have had 3 and done like a whole thing.
Okay, so
nobody's ever brought this up to you. I can tell.
No, it's interesting because I think that like it's never so planned. I don't think it's always like I know a guy with a drum set, or I know I wrote these songs. Hey, call blah blah blah. Let's get some beers and jam. That's kind of. I mean, that, of course, that's like the cool organic way to do stuff. But
you basically need somebody who would be able to have to do 2 of. There's 4 jobs total. You would need one person has to be able to do 2 of the 4 to have a 3-person thingy.
Did you see that thing recently? It came out after Neil Peart died. It was on the internet. It was some dude listening to Rush for the first time, right? Not a Rush fan.
Oh, it's a black guy. I love that guy. I've tweeted a bunch of that.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
His name.
And one of his quotes was like, hold up. He's like, there's no way this is only 3 people. And with a trio, I've been in a few bands with only 3 people, and that much space lends to bigger noise.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you've got like 1,000 people on stage, it's just like, but when it's like a fucking drum beat, a great bass player, a great song. I mean, it honestly just comes down to like, is it a good song?
Yeah.
If it's a good song, it could be fucking 100 people or 1. But if it's a good song, that's what's going to come through. But trios, man, it's honestly a 3-piece band. I fucking love them. Rush, Police, Cream. I mean, there's so many that are so fucking good.
That guy, I became obsessed with him for like a week, and then I got Jimmy Kimmel obsessed with him. And then I asked him to listen to Dream On because he hadn't listened to that yet. And he took the request that he listened to Dream On, and he just like, he did the whole, like he was having a seizure a couple of times. I mean, it's funny how the 70s stuff is just not going to die. You know, and like same thing with Metallica. I had somebody told me who's in the industry about how with Metallica, every year there's another 12 or 13-year-old kid who's just going to be like, these are my guys.
Without a doubt.
And it's just going to go on forever as long as we have music.
Well, I mean, I remember when I first, like, I tried to brainwash my fucking kids with the Beatles. I was like, before you go to Iggy Azalea, like, let's do fucking Sgt. Pepper's or whatever. And so then I bought them a record player, a turntable, which to them is like, you know, it's like a fucking steam engine. They're just like, what is that? But and I got them Beatles records, this box set thing of all the vinyl. And I sat there and I watched them listen to records. They're sitting on the floor. The album covers are all over the floor. They're reading the liner notes. They're looking at the pictures. They're turning it over. They're playing it. They're singing along. And it was honestly exactly the same way everybody has listened to Beatles songs forever. Like since the Beatles started. That's how you fucking do it because it's an experience when you do that. I think it should be at least that we sit down. They were having an experience, like a tangible like experience, an aesthetic experience where they were like hearing the music and seeing the images and touching things and like that. So yes, that can still happen. I think it will still happen just as people are going to, your son is he's a bass player. He's not going solo, dude. He's a fucking bass player. Okay.
Maybe he moves to guitar at some point. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
You never know, but he's going to wind up with someone and they're going to jam and they're going to become friends and they're going to write some songs and they're going to get on stage.
That's already happening.
And they're going to,
he's got this whole hip hop world too. So he's like between these two worlds where he's doing all that. But he has these 2 friends that they have sleepovers. You know, they're 12.
Yeah.
And then they make songs. And that's what they do for 8 hours. And I'm like, all right, you definitely have the bug. I'm not sure where this is going, but just kind of stay out of the way and let it go.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think
it's like
also
a plant. You got to water a little bit.
Now he has somewhere to go when he doesn't know how to explain himself. Or now he has somewhere to go when he's going to write a song about how much he fucking hates you.
Yeah, that'll hurt.
Well, he'll never say it to your face.
Dad sucks. Well, you know,
recently there was this benefit show in Los Angeles. It was for the Art of Elysium thing that they do every year. Linda Perry was putting the whole thing together, the producer Linda Perry, and I know her through things, and she called and said, "Hey, will the Foo Fighters play at this thing?" And it was around Christmas. Some of the guys were out of town. I was like, "Well, we can't do it because some of the guys are gone." And she said, "Well, could you just do it? Is there any way you could just do it? It'd really help, and it's a great cause." And she sent me all the info, and I was like, "Yeah, I could probably do it." I said, "Let me put together a band." And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, "Fuck, maybe I'll call Chris and Pat." Chris Novoselic from Nirvana and Pat Smear, and we were in Nirvana together. I'm like, maybe I'll call them. Well, she only wanted us to do 3 songs. I'm like, maybe I'll call them. So I texted them all. I'm like, you guys want to do this thing? They were like, fuck yeah. And he's like, what do you want to play? And there was once when we performed at a Clive Davis party, and Beck did Man Who Sold the World with us.
Yeah.
And Beck's awesome. Like, he's just the fucking coolest. I was like, you want me to let me call Beck and see if Beck's around. I text Beck. I'm like, you want to do Man Who Sold the World? He's like, absolutely. That'd be great. I'm like, shit. And then Annie Clark, St. Vincent, Annie Clark. I'm like, we jammed with her before. I'm like, oh shit, maybe we could do something with Annie. So she's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, fuck, let's do a Sabbath song. The first song off of fucking Sabotage, which is, I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, like, yes, it'll be great. It'll be super fun. And then I was like, well, I'll call Joan Jett because we jammed with her before too.
She still got it, by the way. She sang at WrestleMania.
Amazing.
Still has the pipes. Yeah, she did. She was great.
She's a fucking
She sang Ronda
badass,
Rousey's entrance song. I mean, she's definitely older than us.
Yes.
She still had the pipes.
She's a badass. She's the real deal. Anyway, I was going to tell this other story about the Palladium thing, about my daughter. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll have Violet sing a song, my daughter. I mean, she's also one of our backup singers, Violet. Yeah. So she's played to 80,000 people before. She doesn't get nervous, and she's great. She can really sing. So I said to Violet, I'm like, what do you want to do, like a Bowie song or a cover or a Nirvana song? She's like, I want to do a Nirvana song, because she's in a Nirvana phase, unbeknownst to me.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Because she's that age and she's that kid. Like the whole Nirvana thing, she's the audience we were connecting to 30 fucking years ago. So she's like, I want to do a Nirvana song. And I'm like, oh, okay. What do you want to do? And she said, Heart-Shaped Box. And I'm like, really? You had to pick the darkest fucking one?
Jesus.
I was like, where did I go wrong? You seem so well balanced. And so
I mean, she's an artist, though.
She is, without question, a deep, talented, brilliant person. Like, I don't even think of her, she's about to turn 14. I don't even think of her like she's a kid. She and I are like this. We fucking hang. Like, she's cool. She's like.
Have you studied
really
the whole
cool.
Billie Eilish phenomenon?
Yes. So Violet kind of got into Billie Eilish a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Almost
Same with my
ago.
kids, like a year and a half ago.
And she started listening to it. And Violet and I were going, and whenever I would be asked to perform at a fundraiser or a charity thing, I'd always say, hey, Vi, you want to come sing a song with me? And she'd go, okay. And she would do like an Adele song or a Beatles song or something, Blackbird. So she goes, Dad, I want you to learn this song. Let's do this. I'm like, okay.
Learn the song?
She just fucking assigned stuff to me. Go learn this. I want to sing that. I'm like, okay. So, and it was this song called I Don't Want to Be You Anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm listening to it. I'm learning it. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is real. Like, this is real shit. Those lyrics and the voice. Wow. So I learn it and I say to her, I'm like, who's this? She said, it's Billie Eilish. I said, who's that? She goes, oh, it's this girl. She's, at the time, I think she was maybe 14 or 15 or whatever it was. And she said, she goes, she was like a SoundCloud thing. And then she's got these songs. I'm like, wow, it's really good. And so then we go and perform it. And Violet's got a beautiful voice and it turns out great. And then we went to go see her play. She was playing at this festival thing in LA. It was maybe a year and a half ago. And she has this presence, It's a real thing. But what I started to notice was her connection to the audience and the audience's connection to her. Like that was real. The vibe was like, oh my God, like this is an actual, this is Morrissey, it's almost, or Fugazi. Like this is like a real thing, not just music and some lights and shit. This is like something bigger. Then we went to see her, I think it was at the Wiltern. And when we went to the Wiltern, that's where I was like, okay, this is a revolution. Like this is fucking, all these kids are gravitating towards this because they feel like her. And those lyrics represent something that they connect to. And it's dark fucking shit. You're not going to get that from like the Hot 100 person who's singing about something.
But that was the thing that was stunning to me. Like, my daughter plays soccer. We're driving around California on weekends, and she's putting on the pop music station, and it's like Sam Smith, all those type of people. Like, God bless all of them. Pretty bad for the most part. Just for me, somebody that really loves a certain brand of music, I'm like, oh, fuck, she's going to put her music on. And then Billie Eilish comes on, and it was like one of those, like, who's this? It just stood out in such a unique, crazy way. And I'm with you on the stage thing. Certain people, Morrissey was like that, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I loved R.E.M. I never felt like Michael Stipe was like that. I felt like there was a connection that was missing with him in the audience, as brilliant as that guy was. I never felt like locked in with him. Whereas other people, I felt like locked in. I think you guys have done a great job of that. I think that's why people love coming to the concerts. They feel like, they could hang out with you after the show and they're just in.
Yeah.
Some people don't. The Cure was another one that was like that because I used to love The Cure. You go see them and he was just kind of like, thank you. And you go to the next song and he just didn't really care that anybody was there.
On our last European tour, of course, I've like listened to The Cure for the last 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
Who hasn't?
They're amazing.
They're fucking amazing. Their songs are great. I was never like a fucking rabid Cure devotee that was just like turned into someone in The Cure. And on the last trip, we did these festivals in Germany over the summer. There were two stages, big stage over here, big stage over here. When that band would end, this band would start. And that band would end, this band would start. Just ping-ponging back and forth. And The Cure were the band on the other end, on the other stage. And so...
and they're at the 40-year mark at this point as a band.
It's like, they represent...
They had a 40-year anniversary concert in 2018.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Well, yes. Okay, so they're over there playing their fucking arsenal of hits that everybody's grown up listening to and loving. And I was so fucking like, to me, that's one of the things I love the most, to see these people survive.
Yeah.
To see a band like Pearl Jam. Oh my God, they survived. So many people didn't. And to see them still fucking out there kicking ass.
They hit that point.
Which point? The breakup point?
Yeah.
Everybody does, dude. It's like puberty.
Mid-90s.
It's like, it just happens.
Eddie had to take the band, and once they all realized that, they were fine.
Really?
Yeah. Because they brought him in. They hired him.
Anyway, so fucking Cure playing over there. We're playing over here. And so I give a big shout out to The Cure. I'm like, let's see for The Cure. Fucking, everyone goes nuts. And then we're playing.
You call him Bob Smith instead of Robert. You go way back with him.
And I look over the side of the stage, and he's standing there watching us.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like
Robert Smith?
60,000 people, big ass festival. And he's on the side of the stage. I'm like, fuck yes, this is fucking great. So there's a break, and I walk up to him. Someone's doing a solo or something. And I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, "Good." And I said, this next one's for you. And we walk out there, and I go right into All My Life. And like when we do that, it's like a Jaws movie, dude.
Yeah.
It's like and then when it goes bam, it kicks in. The place fucking goes insane. It's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Every night, it's fucking awesome. So wham, get the fucking audience is going bananas, and then we do a runner right off the stage into the van. My tour manager texts me and says, just so you know, Robert Smith is in the last van. He wants to fucking hang in the bar. I was like, yes. Dude, I stayed up with Robert Smith
This is
until
amazing.
5:30 in
What?
the morning. Yes. The only guys in the bar for like 5 fucking hours.
And he's like, so who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl? No.
He's the greatest. And absolutely real.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing, his vibe, the songs, the lyrics, the way, the sound, that is him. Like that is how he is. But so you never really know.
So when you see somebody like that on the stage, do you think to yourself, let's just bring this dude out?
Yeah, we did that with Rick Astley. Do you know when we did that with Rick Astley?
I don't think I know this one.
Dude. Okay, so who doesn't love Rick Astley?
Come on.
He's the fucking
Rick
king.
Astley.
He's the best. So there was some BBC thing where they wanted all of these current bands to do covers for some BBC special. And they wanted us to, and we've Rick-rolled the Westboro Baptist Church a few times.
Yeah.
They come to our shows and they're like, you're going to hell. And so we always fuck with them somehow, right?
Right.
Anyway, so we're no stranger to Never Gonna Give You Up. So I thought, hey, let's do a version of Never Gonna Give You Up for this BBC thing. I'm like, cool, we got to learn it. We got to practice it. Because when we get home from this trip, we have to do it.
Yeah.
Backstage at our shows, we have a fucking jam room to warm up in. So we show up to this festival in Tokyo, the fucking Tokyo Dome or whatever, all these different bands playing. And I look on the schedule and fucking Rick Astley is playing at this festival too. We missed him. He played before us. And I'm like, oh my God, fuck it. But it reminded me. I was like, you guys, we have to learn this fucking song. Because we got to go do it in a week when we get home. Let's learn the song. So me and Taylor are sitting there trying to learn it, right? The other guys come in.
I'm trying to figure out how Never Gonna Give You Up works as a rock song.
I'll tell you. It's the exact same arrangement as Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking one bit. There's the intro, there's the drum break, there's the verse, there's the pre-chorus, there's a re-intro, there's the riff. It's the fucking same. And
That's so funny.
We start playing it instead of it going dun, 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 totally joking. We start going it starts sounding like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. We do it 10 times in a row, dying laughing. We're fucking cracking up. Like, oh my God, it's the same song. Let's play it so it sounds like Smells Like Teen Spirit. Same drum intro.
Yeah.
And then we have to go on. And we're like, cool, let's go on. So we go on to play. And we're playing. And I look over. This is 20 minutes later. I look over and Rick Astley's on the fucking side of the stage. You could see him from a mile away because he looks exactly the same.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, fuck. And someone's doing a solo. I fucking run up. I'm like, hey, I'm Dave. He's like, hey, man, I'm Rick. I'm like, I know. I said, we just learned your fucking song 20 minutes ago. Do you want to come out here and do it right now? And he said, fuck yes. We had just learned it 20 minutes before. And I said, we do it sort of hard. He's like, fucking great.
He's like, I'll be fine.
Dude, we nailed it.
Is this on YouTube?
Yes.
I don't know how I missed this.
It is.
This is my wheelhouse.
We've done it a few times now. But yes, this is 2 years ago. It was such a triumphant, momentous fucking... it was like all the stars aligned.
See, I love crossovers, and the Grammys always fucks them up.
It's tricky, though, dude.
But when it works, and I always wonder why... I went to Flea's charity benefit like 2 months ago, and Eddie was there.
Yeah.
And then they were all just on the stage together, and it was like, this is cool. Eddie and the Chili Peppers.
Did it work?
Of course, why wouldn't it work?
I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't.
I was like, this is Eddie and Anthony together, and it was just like, this is something. But I like the crossovers. But when they go bad, they go bad.
It's hard. There was a show, Ken Ehrlich, that produces the Grammys.
Yeah.
From Chicago. He used to have this show, God damn it, I can't remember what it was called, where that was basically what he would do. He would take two artists, I think this is in the 70s. He would take two artists that seem unrelated and put them together on stage just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. With the Grammys, it's kind of it's a fucking crapshoot. But that's kind of when magic happens. It's like when I see someone in the audience that's got a sign, hey, play guitar and you're fucking my hero or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm in the mood or if I'm fucking feeling like this shit needs to like bump up a little bit, I'll look and see someone that wants to play on the song and I'll go, do you fucking know the song? Do you actually fucking know it? And I'm like, yeah. And if it's great, and a total stranger, if they come up on stage and it's great, it's amazing. If they come up on stage and shit the bed, it's amazing. Like you kind of can't go wrong.
Well, the best one I think of all time was when Prince, after George Harrison died,
stole the show. I agree. That was so funny.
And it was
everybody's faces like,
it was like, look at all these cool guitarists. Then Prince was like, hey guys, hold my beer.
And then fucking
it just
throws
crushes
and bails.
Them. Oh my God. That's the best case scenario. All right, we got to go, I think.
I really have to piss.
Yeah, I do too. This was great. We're two old people that have to pee. Thank you.
Good to see you.